There's a vast multiverse known as the Spider-Verse, in which there are different versions of Spider-Man that exist across the multiverse. But wouldn't that mean that there are different versions of Venom? Today we're going to be bringing you the full story of Venomverse from the Comicstorian channel. Let's get into it.
A young girl is standing in an elevator. She's eating a container of french fries, thinking to herself. This is the 5th time that she's trying to escape. The first time they talked her into coming back. The second time, she got lost. Third time, they just shot her. Fourth, that was some kind of gas. And as she shoved the rest of the fries into her mouth, she pops her claws. Schnicked. She leaps out of the elevator with the blades in her hands and feet and sirens blaring, and she murders everyone there and keeps walking. Gas fills the room and she wanders into one of the labs. I can't go back, she tells herself. She's tired of being X-23, the experiment. She's Laura. Inside of the lab, she's looking for an answer, questioning what other monsters they're making here, and that's when she sees the container, the one holding black goo. She cracks it open with her claws. They call out that they found the target. Realizing what she's done, she panics and the goo begins to seep out, and it begins to attach to her arm. The guards rush in and immediately know what's wrong. The subject, X-23, has merged with an alien symbiote. 2 months later, some kids are wandering into an old building. The rumor is that it's haunted, and they've come to check out that theory. But a debate begins. People say that it's a monster. So how can it be haunted? Monsters don't mean ghosts. But while these kids are debating, a girl is having an internal struggle. One that she has every day. Let's get rid of them. They're homeless kids. No one will look for them. We can eat them. And Laura shouts, no! All of the kids are scared, and once they realize that it's just a young girl, they begin to ask questions. She tells them to go, and one even agrees, so they all walk out. But once they get outside, they quickly run into problems, because as homeless kids, they owe some of the local thugs some money. Lots of money. The kids scatter and they run through the streets until one of them runs into a dead end. The man approaches him pulling a pipe out of his jacket, and the voice tells Laura, we don't like seeing people hurt other people. So she slices him in two. She looks at the kid that she saved with the symbiote all over her and her claws out ready for murder, and tells him, hello. He screams out, what the hell are you? And the voice in her head tells her, violence is all we know. We are Venom. Another thug runs up pulling out a gun as she leaps over at him and goes for his throat. Except the kid runs over grabbing her arm. Stop! You don't have to kill him! The symbiote retracts from Laura's face as she tells the kid that he called her a monster. The kid takes Laura with him for saving his life and they run off. But now, the world has seen her. The little experiment run awry has finally been found. She spends the next few weeks getting to know the kids, becoming one of them. These are her friends now and she'll protect them. Which of course spreads the rumors that there is a group of homeless kids protected by a monster. Laura sees an ice cream truck and has the kid Bobby punch her in the face, causing a bloody nose. With that blood running down her face, she runs over to the truck driver asking for help. And while he's distracted, the kids steal the ice cream. It would have been a good day, till one of the agents grabbed one of those kids' arms. But these kids, well, they're protected now. The Venom symbiote forms over the girl's mouth and she tackles him laughing. The soldiers all run in with their guns, so Laura senses what's going on and leaps out of the window, slashing. She cuts and guts as many of them as she can, telling the kids to run! They run into the old building where they all met, and the soldiers chase after them. But like I said, these kids are ready to fight. They're protected by the symbiote. Some sprout claws, others sprout fanged mouths, and others have blades. As they cut up eating those soldiers, Laura returns, and they blast her with napalm, weakening her. They run into the back room and they lock the metal door, and that's when Venom knows what it has to do. It needs all of its little bits and pieces back, and it sucks it out of the kids forcibly, bringing it all back to Laura herself. At full power, she can save these kids. She can save her friends. She can stop them. Except something is happening. The world is twisting and bending around everyone, and in a flash, Laura is gone, and the kids, they're alone. She looks around and says out loud, whoever you are, you're gonna pay for taking us from them. And in front of her is Captain America with a Venom symbiote. He tells her, your schoolyard fights are over. We have a war to win.
Since coming into the comic book world, Gwen has used her vast knowledge of these worlds to make a name for herself, as well as even become the main character of her own series. She's made her money being a mercenary, except the only problem is with her powers. She doesn't have any, as she is shot to death by a group of drug dealers. That would have been the end of the story. if not for Gwen taking something from someone who wanted to get rid of it pretty badly. And that something just so happened to be a Venom symbiote. One of the men reports that they no longer have a problem, but Gwen gets back up, showing her claws, asking them, "Are you sure?" But before she can kill those men, a shuriken flies so they are hitting Gwen in the shoulder, and she turns back to see the ninjas and says, "You know what? We would love to feast on ninjas." Her head begins to grow with more of the symbiote, and she begins to chomp down, eating everything that she can get her hands on. And as she continues killing everyone, one of the ninjas shouts that they need to retreat, and they start throwing their smoke bombs. Venom sighs, "They're all gone!" And Gwen asks, "What, are you not full yet?" Then there's another voice that calls down to Gwen, Daredevil. She shouts, "It's you! It's really Daredevil!" And Matt Murdock tells her, "Yeah, and you are?" She says, Venom Pool? Gwenum? Venpool. I'm working on a name. Matt tells her, as much fun as beating up ninjas is, tonight they're going to have to try and figure out the larger situation that was the Hand's recent interest in drugs, which is now busted. He then sighs, telling her, "Well, there's always tomorrow. Nice to meet you, Monster Gwen." The next day, Gwen heads to the law firm that she applied to work at when she happens to see Matt Murdock sitting across the table. She dumps the paperwork for her boss, shouting, "Hi, Matt Murdock!" She takes her seat and begins to doodle while Matt explains that this firm's client facility produces a noxious and potentially hazardous substance that is spreading across a 5-block radius. Melville says that there is no evidence that anything that their client is working with is hazardous to humans. It's just hot sauce. As the two of them go back and forth, Gwen puts on the finishing touches to one of her drawings, and it's Matt Murdock as Daredevil because he's so hot. Venom then tells Gwen, "We should kill your boss. He's being mean to the cute boy that you like." And as Matt leaves, Melville asks if anything's wrong. Gwen snaps back, telling him, "Of course not." Melville then reaches down, grabbing the notes that Gwen was taking, telling her that he needs to get prepped just in case this actually does go to court. She smiles and nods and then realizes that she just handed her boss a sheet of paper that says Matt Murdock is Daredevil. Maybe she shouldn't have been doodling. She runs out of the office asking what she should do, and Venom says, "We should just kill him." And Gwen tells him, "I am trying not to do that." So Venom sighs, pulling the fire alarm. The entire office exits the building, and Melville shouts that he's gonna go work from home. He can't deal with this now. He gets into his car and he leaves, and Venom says,
"But we should go to his house and kill him there. We can then get the folder."
Gwen says, "Just stop it! We don't need to go there right now." But as she leaves, Matt Murdock spots her and starts to follow. A short while later, Gwen makes it to her boss's apartment to find him going through the paperwork. Venom shouts, "Just kill him! Save the cute lawyer devil! We are hungry!" The mask begins to wrap back around Gwen, and she says, "Well, he is a terrible boss." But just before she can jump in, Matt punches her and says that he's starting to think that she's actually a serial killer. She swings back, telling him, "You don't understand, I'm trying to protect you." And as the two of them struggle, Gwen throws Matt inside of the apartment, and Melville shouts, "To me, my ninja!" Gwen says, "Wait, what?" And Matt tells her, "You'll see." A few seconds later, the Hand and ninjas appear, and Gwen says, "Of course! My boss is actually evil." While Matt and Gwen start taking out the ninjas, Melville grabs a gun from his desk and he fires it at Matt Murdock. Gwen quickly creates a shield to block the shot, but in turn, it's reflected back, hitting Melville in the chest. He begins to fall backwards, crashing through his window, and then Gwen swoops up the doodle, revealing who Matt Murdock's identity really is, before anyone has a chance to notice that she did it. Matt looks around and says that they should probably go, and Gwen says that's probably a good idea. And a short while later, along the rooftops, Matt says that this is not among his ideas of how he thought his secret identity would be in jeopardy. She nervously laughs, and Matt hops off the ledge, stating, "Duty calls. Maybe we'll see each other again next time in a bad guy thing. Thanks for trying not to kill anyone." She tries to contain her excitement that Matt implied that they might see each other again, and Venom says,
"Look, it was good that your boss died. This is what we wanted."
And then Matt returns, stating, "Actually, I don't see any reason why we can't patrol together." Venom begins to hiss, telling him,
"I don't like this. Something doesn't feel right."
And Gwen tells him, "Just relax. What's the worst that can happen?" As she follows Matt around the corner, Venom tells her, "Run before," and the two of them are teleported away. Moments later, Matt climbs back up the building, stating, "Actually, I just thought about something. Maybe we should patrol together." But that's when he discovers that Gwen is already gone.
Over at the Shield facility, Dr. Calvin Zabo, the mutagenic drug dealer, is getting ready to be transported to another jail. The officer tells everyone that he has an incriminating testimony, so there will be plenty of people trying to make this as difficult as possible. As soon as the convoy leaves, the officer spots someone ready to shoot them with a rocket launcher, and they immediately engage. Explosions begin to go off, and the officer on the side says, "That didn't take very long for that to start." Calvin laughs, telling him, "What can I say? I'm an extremely popular biosadist." Outside of the truck, it's become a complete war zone as every villain across the city is trying to capture Calvin. One, though, jumps down, slamming one of the trucks, shouting, "Come chase my Manogs of Doom!" Calvin asks, "Is that a tentacled Yeti in a red mask?" And the officer says, "Uh-huh." So Calvin then says, "Octosquatch Pool!"
And the officer tells him that is the nastiest sounding name that she has ever heard. Just then, a fiery wheel drives over one of the villains, and the Courage Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, along with the Venom symbiote, shouts, "More heat!" While killing everyone with his chain and flail, Venom shouts, "Such sinewy sense." Venom then hooks his chains up, lifting the car onto the convoy, letting it eat the flying monkey men. Octo Squatchpool shouts to Venom, "I have kill cuddles for everyone," and he smashes another truck. Venom then turns to save the officers flung from the truck and then uses them to beat Octo Squatchpool. Venom then tries to wrap Octo Squatchpool up while the last of the convoy speeds by, running them over. The truck spins out crashing, and just as Calvin says, "I think I'm getting a migraine," Venom rips open the hatch, telling him, "Boom." The officer jumps out of the truck with Calvin telling Venom, "I would like to thank you for defeating Octo Squatchpool. I'm pretty sure you didn't mean to concuss my men." But before she can finish, Venom opens his mouth, letting his tongue wrap around the officer's neck, shouting, "Silence! Be still or be tasted." A few moments later, Venom pulls his tongue back and says, "Fixations of justice, moral balance, basic human goodness, disgusting!" And he smacks her away, and Calvin gets back up asking, "What are you?" Venom shouts, "Once upon a time, there was a boy named Robbie Reyes who was possessed by a fiend. In his limited way, he worked with a parasite, serving the greater good. But with all of his luck, a second fiend found him, and now he is our host, the Rider." As Venom talks, he sniffs the air and he tells Calvin, "You don't smell afraid. Why is that, we wonder?" Calvin grins as he has an ace up his sleeve. He has a feeling in his bones. And Venom says, "You must be referring to the deal that you made with that mercenary known as Crossbones. He was to swoop in and come to the rescue, right?" Robbie's car burps, regurgitating Crossbones' half-ingested body. And Venom tells you, "How do you think we found you?" Calvin turns and begins to run, but before he can get very far, Venom chains him up, and Robbie breaks out, telling him, "Please, don't kill the innocents!" Venom pulls him back in, telling him, "Don't worry, we've come for his sin." Venom holds Calvin close and performs the penance kiss, sucking the sin out of Calvin and tossing his body to the side. The car starts to eat up the discarded body, and then Venom begins to feel something. Suddenly, he's pulled apart and teleported away, and as his body reappears, he shouts, "Who dares abduct me?" And Steve Rogers tells him, "Ask not what your symbiote can do for you, but what you can do for your symbiote." Off in the wastelands, the young Bruce Banner beats down on Logan, asking how he could keep this from him. Logan tries to tell him wait, but as Bruce kicks him again, he shouts, "It's been 15 years of lies. You're the one who killed my father." Bruce Banner Jr. walks away, and Logan tells him, "Come back." And Bruce tells him, "I don't care anymore. I want you dead now." The morning sun begins to shine in as Logan wakes up from the same nightmare in the drunken haze. Without so much as a word, the door to the motel room is kicked in, and Warren, the man that was formerly known as Angel, steps in. A little while passes, and Logan starts to come to the realization that he's in a truck, and then he sees Warren again. He shouts that he thought he was dead, and Warren says, "Not quite. I've been looking for you after what happened at the mansion." Logan groans, telling him, "I spent the last 70 years trying to forget that mansion. After Red Skull, the Hulk gang, I finally moved on." Logan then stops and asks him, "Where the hell are we going anyway? Where have you been?" Warren tells him that he disappeared. He figured Red Skull would come back for another wing, and then he heard he was killed. But now there's a new crop of young mutants being trained, the new X-Men in the making, and he had to see it for himself. He goes on stating that there's also something that he found out about his son. They're gonna go see him now. Logan shouts, "That's impossible. I saw his body with my own eyes. Now stop the truck!" After asking a few more times and not listening, Warren pulls up to Xavier's old mansion in Westchester. The two get out and they walk towards the building as Logan says that he never really wanted to come back here. "It looks like hell. This is the place where Red Skull used me to kill everyone. Cyclops, Jubilee, Beast, and the kids, all of them." Logan walks through the door shouting, "Scotty!" And then suddenly Warren springs out a mechanical wing and throws the blades into Logan's back. He tells him that they are going to make this place his tomb. Now this time he won't be leaving. A little while later, Logan opens his eyes and he sees Bruce, Hawkeye's daughter Ashley, and Warren staring right back at him. After realizing the situation, he shouts, "What the hell is this?" Bruce steps up, telling him, "After the night that I learned what really happened to my father, I found out that not only did you have my family taken away, but you took away my entire empire." Logan shouts, "It was an empire of evil." And Bruce yells back at him, "But it was my birthright." Ashley then steps up, telling him Bruce's journey landed him on her doorstep, and they shared a common interest. Warren had his own reasons for joining. Ashley reaches out, grabbing Logan's face, telling him, "You've made a lot of enemies. And I've been looking forward to this since you and my deadbeat dad killed my men and crushed my operation." Logan says, "Clint just wanted to bring you home." And Ashley snaps back, "Hawkeye was old and washed up, just like you. But now, you're gonna help me get it all back." Bruce laughs, telling him, "That's right. You're about to be swallowed up and spit back out, and then we're gonna use your DNA to make Wolverine clones." A worried look comes over Logan's face and he asks, "Do you really think this is the first attempt to clone me?" Ashley then shouts for Warren to open the door, and across the room a giant metal door slides open. She creates a web whip and cracks it, causing the symbiote-covered devil dinosaur to come out. He gathers all of his strength to break free from the web bindings, and Ashley laughs, webbing his hands together again, telling him, "Tell Hawkeye hello for me." Logan shouts, "You're gonna see him before I will," and then he pulls on the webbing, flinging Ashley towards him. As soon as she flies by Devil Dinosaur opens up, chomping down on her. Logan then starts to run towards Devil Dinosaur, and he jumps up, stabbing into his eyes. He whips around, knocking Logan off, and then he bites down, swallowing Logan whole. Bruce watches and says, "Looks like we're done for now." And Warren asks, "Shouldn't we check to make sure that he's dead?" Bruce tells him, "Nah, we have to wait for the symbiote enzymes to bond with his DNA. It'll be a few days, we'll come back." Just then, the Devil Dinosaur groans, and the symbiote starts to suck into its mouth. Moments later, the symbiote-infused Logan rips out of Devil Dinosaur's stomach and lunges at Bruce and Warren. Warren shouts that the symbiote must have sensed his healing factor. Logan then pulls back a claw, telling Bruce, "You're weak. Your father, the Bruce that I knew, would be ashamed of what you become." Bruce hulks out, grabbing Warren by his wings, throwing him towards Logan, telling him, "This is our chance." As Logan and Warren begin to fight, Bruce makes his escape through the back, and Warren kicks Logan back, shouting, "You've always been a killer! This is for all the innocent lives you've taken!" His metal wing unfolds and more blades shoot out towards Logan, but this time the symbiote catches them, throwing them back. A blade sticks into Warren, and Venom tells Logan, "That's it. Just feed on that rage. We better hurry. We don't want the little brat to get away." Logan hurries down the hallway to catch up with Bruce, and as he does, Bruce reaches out, grabbing Logan, slamming him into a wall. Bruce grips down on Logan's throat, telling him, "I'm gonna finish what you started." And the tendrils of Venom creep out, and Logan says, "Yes, it is time for us to end this." And he kicks Bruce in the back. The tendrils wrap around Bruce's neck, and Venom shouts, "That's it. Kill the boy." Logan pulls his face out of the symbiote and shouts, "No, I can't do this. He's like a son to me." And a black portal opens up behind Logan, and Logan goes on, stating, "I kept the truth away from you because I loved you." The portal closes, and he went missing. And that's when Steve Rogers told Old Man Logan, "That's real sweet of you. But now man up. We got a war to win." As Wade Wilson sits in a tree eating a tapeworm-infested apple, he says, "You know, we found tapeworm larvae in fossilized feces of a dinosaur shark. That prehistoric shark poop, full of little bundles of parasitic joy." True story. So here I am, hoping that nobody goes poking around my BMs, 270 million years from now. He tosses the apple and tells the owl that he was next to, "It's good to have this nice chat. I gotta get to work, though." He jumps up and climbs up into Ripley Diagnostics building, stating, "Peekaboo!" Turns out the naughty doctor doesn't want to share his new toys with the Pentagon. Wait, did I just say doctor? I meant parasitologist. Augmented biological symbiotes. Icky stuff. He starts to look around and he sees one Dr. Scott appear, and he says, "You really need to work on your lurching. Anyway, what's the haps, craps? Cat got your tongue." Tapeworms begin to extend from the doctor's mouths, and Wade cuts off Dr. Scott's head, telling him, "I never kiss on the first date." The head flies off, and the worms reach out, grabbing it and reattaching it. And so Wade says, "That is easily the grossest thing that I've seen all day." Well, actually, maybe like within the top 3 of the grossest things I've seen all day. The doctor shuffled forward, telling Wade, "We are now your masters." And Wade says, "Haha, this has been fun, but it's probably time that the tapeworms get back in the jar." Dr. Scott leaps forward, grabbing Wade, letting the tapeworms crawl onto him, and that's when Wade notices a jar on the shelf. He looks at it, and it says, "Venom Symbiote," and he sings, "Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to bond with you again." He punches the glass, and the moment that he does, the symbiote begins to wrap itself around Wade. Suddenly, with a burst of energy, the doctors are thrown aside, and Wade stands up shouting, "Now that's what I'm talking about." He begins to pull the tapeworms out of his skin, stating, "This tapeworm detox is something else." He looks back at Dr. Scott, and then he grabs his leg, throwing him into the others. Dr. Scott's head begins to crawl away, stating, "We have been released. We are Legion. We are." And Wade stomps on the head, telling him, "You need a little less monologuing, more squishing." After a bit of investigating, Wade sets out to Sank McCready Hospital to hunt down the rest of the bad guys. But first, he needed to make sure that he flushed out the rest of the tapeworms from his system. As he swung by the hospital to find the doctors in the middle of a parasitic liver transplant, he breaks through the window, shouting for them to stop! Oh, wait, I'm too late, huh? The patient on the table jumps up at Wade, knocking him down, and then Wade pushes back on the patient, pulling the parasite out. The parasite then grabs Wade, throwing him into the defibrillator, and Wade reaches for it, stating, "I wish I knew how to quit you." He takes the defibrillator and shocks himself, shocking the parasites off, and says, "Man, I felt that one of the gonards." The parasite then jumps back into the patient and begins to run out, and Wade shouts, "Wade, come back with that meat suit!" He bursts through the doors, and other patients that have been a part of the transplant project come out of the rooms. Wade tries to fight back the parasites, but with so many of them, the tapeworms begin to slither down his throat. Inside of Wade's body, the tapeworms begin to make their way to his heart, and they begin biting and chewing away at it. Then the black goop shouts out, grabbing and pulling the worms off. Wade begins to cough up the worm, stating, "I've never felt so violated before," and that is saying something. One of the tapeworms begin to crawl over towards a nurse, so Wade grabs it and throws it against a wall, shouting, "Not so fast." He then turns back to the other infected and begins eating and killing them, stating, "It is so good to be us again." With the parasites destroyed, he says, "You complete us." The nurse from before, still not knowing what is going on, takes the bone saw and cuts off Wade's arm, screaming. As he waves his nub, spraying blood at the nurse, he shouts, "Hey, why are the good guys here?" As the nurse flails and screams as she runs away, Wade says, "A simple thank you, Wade, I love you, Wade, hold me, Wade, would have been nice." He reattaches his arm, stating how about him and the symbiote go do what heroes do, and be heroic. He goes across the hospital delivering babies, making balloon animals out of tapeworms, and helping the elderly. And after his services are rendered, Wade looks at the window stating, "Man, saving lives, inspiring minds, filleting tapeworms. Our job is done here." He jumps out the window and a black portal opens, grabbing him and pulling him through. As he falls through it into the now destroyed city, he hears a voice telling him to get up. He jumps up shouting to give him one good reason not to rip his head off and eat it with Grey Poupon. Steve's voice tells him there's a war going on and we're gonna need all the help that we can get. Wade reaches up to grab Steve's hand, telling him, "Well, when you put it that way, sign me up, Sarge." Steve helps Wade up, telling him, "Actually, it's Captain." All was quiet in New York City until the cackling of one of the most psychotic men rings out as he flies by. Jack-o'-lantern swoops in, taunting the civilians, asking, "Where did he go? This guy really needs to learn some boundaries." That's when Eddie Brock's voice tells him, "I'm sorry, but I'm guessing Mom didn't teach me good manners." Eddie leaps onto Jack, knocking him into a building, and he tells him, "We have some unfinished business." As he holds Jack's body over the fire escape, Jack shouts, okay, you got me. Just take me in." And Eddie asks him, "Are you really begging for your life? Are you growing into a person?" Eddie then lifts Jack over his head and he throws him down to the ground, telling him, "Taking you in isn't an option." Jack's body rockets towards the ground, and as it lands, Eddie jumps down, crushing his spine. Some of the people watching ask what he's doing. Is he going to kill him? And Eddie tells him, "He'll live. Not that he deserves to, but something isn't right." His body begins to twist and distort, and then suddenly he disappears. Seconds later, Eddie is thrown out of the portal and he asks, "What the hell was that? It looks like all of our bits and pieces are in the right place, though." As Eddie looks around, he sees his city only ruined and destroyed. Before he has a chance to look any further, Eddie sees a young boy walking up to him, telling him, "I need help." Eddie pulls back his mask, telling him, "All right, it's okay. Just tell me what's going on." He reaches out and suddenly the boy has a shield thrown into his head. And Eddie turns back to see Steve Rogers in a Venom suit. Steve tells him, "He is not what you think you just saw. And in another second or two, you wouldn't have been any good to me. I need you to come with me right now." Eddie says, wait. You're Captain America, but not the Cap I know, are you? You just killed a kid." Steve starts to head off, telling him, "Fall in line." As the two head off, Steve says that he'll explain everything once they get to where they're going. The magic that has brought him here is getting weaker. He should have been closer to the checkpoint. Eddie asks, "What do you mean magic? What's going on here?" And then Eddie sees it. A group of superheroes, all with their very own Venom symbiote, and Steve tells Eddie, "Welcome to the Resistance." Eddie looks around and asks, "So, all of these Venoms are from where? Other worlds and realities? Is that really a good idea?" Then Stephen Strange in a Venom suit calls out, telling him, "Actually, it was my idea. This all may be a bit confusing, but you are now a part of a battle for the very survival of our species." Eddie then asks, "Against who? That kid Cap smashed out there?" And T'Challa in a Venom suit steps up, telling him, "We call them poisons. Their touch is like that of poison, consuming us from the inside." And Peter Parker, also in his Venom suit, says, "Wait, can we talk about the fact that we just brought Eddie Brock into the fold? He's a psycho." While the two begin to argue, Flash tells them, "Look, there aren't many of us left. Can we just not kill each other?" And Laura, in her Venom symbiote, shouts, "We need to work together." Those things, they turn symbiotes into weapons, something more powerful than it ever was. And because it ceases to exist as its own entity, so does the host. Peter yells, "Uh-oh, spider sense is going off. You are followed." Suddenly, Poison Hulk bursts through the walls yelling, "Smash!" MJ starts to get Stephen Strange out of there while Flash Thompson provides cover. As the Hulk punches into Flash, Eddie Brock looks at the hole in Flash's stomach and he asks,
I thought they were poison if they touched us.
and Peter tells him that's one of the lesser ones that has already merged with the Hulk and his symbiote, so he can't consume anyone else, but he can still smash us. Steve Rogers charges at Hulk, but as he's captured, he shouts for everyone to just get out of there. Andy tells Rocket to seal the tunnel, and then he sighs, telling them, "Oh, we just got this beauty finished. Sorry, Cap." He tosses in the bomb and all of the Venom split up to escape. Eddie and Peter manage to get out through one of the tunnels and they get back onto the streets, and that's when they see a possessed Dr. Octopus. Eddie asks,
You got this, right? Spider-Man used to trounce this guy in the regular in my world.
and Peter tells him, it would be so much easier for you if you stopped thinking of them as the people that you once knew. Otto throws one of his arms out, telling them,
Two would be so much easier if you would just surrender.
sure, the human host dies, but these symbiotes will thrive in a newer and stronger form. The mechanical arms shoot out and into Eddie's torso, and they throw him into the ground. One of the smaller poisons walks over to Eddie, and Peter shouts for him, "Don't talk to that thing!" Before Peter can explain more, Otto grabs him out of the air and begins to crush him. While the smaller poison continues to creep up to Eddie Brock, Eddie takes a rock from behind it and bashes it in the head. While Otto is focusing on Peter, Eddie then jumps in, punching Otto from behind, and he grabs one of the tentacles off of Otto's face and he bites into it. As Eddie fights with Otto, Peter hears a voice call out to him, and Aunt May tells Peter that she's so worried about him. It's time for him to come alone and see Uncle Ben. Eddie finishes up with Otto by stabbing a pole into his head, and he says,
See, we can take them out.
and as Eddie looks back, he sees a white version of Spider-Man filled with the poison. And Peter says,
Spider-Man is no longer here, but I'm going to do what the old Spider-Man couldn't. Kill Venom!
Peter runs in, clawing at Eddie's face, and then he punches him with a force capable of sending Eddie flying. Some of the smaller poisons skitter up, and Eddie asks,
What, you need more friends to tangle with me?
and as Eddie jumps back in, Peter thrusts his arm through Eddie's stomach, asking him,
Who do you think you're fooling here? Even at your best, you were never able to take down Spider-Man.
Peter then lifts Eddie up and he slams him into the ground, shouting,
And I am so much more than Spider-Man ever was.
Peter begins to punch down onto Eddie repeatedly, and then he picks him back up by the neck, asking the little poisons,
Who's hungry?
The bullets then rain down on the poisons as Wade Wilson calls out, asking Peter if he's seen a symbiote-clad meathead, because he just ran away from the farm and I'm missing him like something fierce. With him is MJ and Old Man Logan, and as they charge in, Peter says,
You could bring us all at once, one at a time or all together. It makes no difference. Sooner or later, we're all gonna feed the beast.
Elsewhere, though, Steve Rogers is held prisoner, and as he struggles with his restraints, he's shocked with a sonic blast. A familiar voice tells him, Don't even try. You see the sonic emitters, right? Through the door, Sharon Carter walks in, and she says that she can't stand to see him like this. She's here to help. She kneels down, telling Steve that she won't abandon him. They'll get through this together. Back on the streets, the heroes all begin to attack Peter, but with not much effort, Peter manages to hold them all back. He grabs MJ and she tells him, Go on, Tiger. Kill her. Get it over with. In a moment of hesitation, Peter stops and Eddie gets back at his feet, tackling Peter down. Up above, though, Wade notices Peter's moment of awareness and figures that that's going to come in handy later. Once the four of them all work together, Peter webs off, stating,
Without my little buddies here to convert you all,
This fight has lost its appeal. See you around. Back with Steve, Sharon leans in for a kiss, and Steve pulls back, telling her, You are not Sharon, you are nothing more than a lie. She tells him that he's being stubborn. She was trying to make it easier and less painful. As Steve says, Go ahead and do your worst. And then the poison spines reach out from behind Steve's head and they begin to consume him. Over with the group, everyone stocks up on supplies and begins to get ready to move out to the next safe house. But as they head out, Eddie asks what Spider-Man was trying to explain a little bit before they were attacked. Logan tells Stephen to go ahead and fill him in. He's in the thick of it now, he deserves to know. So Stephen Strange says that the truth is, they understand very little about the poisons. They are not unlike a virus, one that seems to be designed for their eradication. In their natural form, the poisons are small and fragile, though through some genetic trick, perhaps evolution itself, they are the perfect host for the symbiotes, making them much more powerful. For them to do that, though, they need a host as well. The bonding process requires raw nutrients to work. That meaning that the host is consumed as fuel when they take control of the symbiote. Wade shouts, What the Weirdo Supreme is saying is that we are all screwed. Every time we run into one of these things, our numbers drop and the poisons go up. Meanwhile, over with the new Poison Captain America, he's asked how he's feeling. And Steve shouts, Better than ever, sir. Ready to serve my country. I can tell you everything. A voice asks, What about the source? And Steve tells him, I know where to find him and how to capture him. The voice says excellent, and Dr. Doom continues stating that once they have consumed them all at last, they will use the magician to bring in more. Back at the group, Logan leads everyone to Our Lady of Saints Church, to the place where Eddie bonded with his Venom symbiote. Everyone walks in getting ready to set up base, and Andy notices something. Someone is missing. Out on the streets, Wade walks down asking, "Anybody there? Specifically a poison who might need a tasty snack. Come on, holla at your boy!" Some of the poisons begin to come out, and Wade tells them, "You know what they say? If you can't beat them, surrender peacefully and hope initiation isn't half as painful as you think." Over at the church, everyone begins to unpack, and Rocket says that he's almost finished with the bomb. MJ says that she thought Steven had another plan. Is the bomb really necessary? And Rocket tells her that once you've been to as many worlds as I have, you'll learn explosives are always necessary. A voice comes out of the bomb, and Ant-Man Scott Lang with a Venom symbiote jumps out stating that he hopes that he spliced the correct wires together, because he's going to assume that he did since they didn't all just die fiery deaths. Rocket says that isn't the fire you should be worrying about. This thumper unleashes such a concussive force that it would vaporize your flesh and bones before the flames ever touched you. In another part of the church, Stephen Strange begins to summon another symbiote, but this one is slightly different. Logan tells Eddie that he hopes that he's right about this, otherwise it's their funeral. The portal opens up and the red tendrils crawl out as Carnage tears through, shouting, "I don't know who you are, but for you to take me away from my Saturday night slaying, you're going to regret it!" Eddie tells Cletus, "Look, I know this can be a bit unsettling, but hear me out. Don't do anything crazy. You are brought here because we need you." Cletus looks over and says, "You ain't my daddy! You look and smell like him, but you ain't him. I'm going to bet that you can die just like him now." Cletus lunges at Eddie, and Eddie tells him, "We need you. You can murder all you want in spades." And Cletus tells him, "Don't worry, not daddy. Whoever they are, we're gonna get them." Logan and T'Challa run up, and Carnage lashes out of them, asking, "What's this? Why are there so many Venoms? Is this Christmas morning?" Eddie kicks Cletus down, telling him, "You're making it really hard to pull my punches." And Cletus shouts, "Don't you dare do that!" Soon, the rest of the Venoms get ready to put Cletus down, and then there's another explosion. From the hole in the wall, the poisons walk through with Steve Rogers leading them. Cletus tells him, "Wait, that's who you wanted me to kill? A bunch of messed up superheroes? Well, why didn't you say so?" While everyone tries to slow down the poison, Steve throws his shield at Cletus, telling him, "I'm not sure who you are, but our fight is not with you." Cletus then asks him, "Do you really think I care?" And Steve punches him so hard that the symbiote loosens, and he shouts, "That's it! Put him a fight, Cap!" But while everyone fights the poisons back, one crawls up behind Robbie and begins to take over. The transformation begins, and Robbie shouts, "Why was I ever afraid? It's all so clear now what they want. What they need is to become so much more. I am." But before he can finish, Cletus stabs through Robbie's back, shouting, "Dead, dead, 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 that's what you are." Except Robbie's head turns back around and hits Cletus in the face with a penance kiss. Cletus throws Robbie's body to the ground, telling him, "That was a filthy trick." Then the room goes silent, and Cletus asks, "What is it? Did they all just leave?" And Logan tells everyone, "Sound off. Who's still with us?" And everyone calls out except for Stephen Strange. Moments later, Laura heads everyone down into the street, stating that they're going to need to keep moving or they're going to find them again. Cletus shouts, "Let them! I want to get my claws wet!" While Andy tells Cletus to give the shtick a rest. MJ then says that they need to figure something out. They've already lost half the planet, which means they're going to be bringing in more reinforcements. And Eddie pauses for a moment and then realizes they're not bringing in reinforcements. Strange has been bringing soldiers for this world because he's been giving the poisons all of the food that they could ever want. And over in Steven's holding cell, Doom walks in and Strange tells him, "I should have known that I would have found you among the poisons." The now transformed Wade Wilson leans in, telling him, "Hey, remember me? Look, I just want to say this whole thing isn't as bad as you all think." Doom then tells Steven, "I hope you understand that there is no ill will towards you, but all of these symbiotes are being summoned from time and space." Steven's eyes widen as he realizes that he hasn't been saving the symbiotes from death. He's been helping the poisons grow their army. Later that night in the streets, Gwenpool and Victor Creed go on a patrol, and when Creed says that he can smell them, one of the lesser poisons steps down and begins beeping down on them, and then the crowd explodes. Creed shouts that they've mined the street, and Gwen tells him, "You think?" More charges begin to go off, and Logan pops his claws, telling them, "It's been a while, and right now I'm aching for a scrap." As Logan and Laura jump down on Creed, he tells them, "Look! It's Old Man Runt and his granddaughter." Creed knocks Logan into a wall and grabs Laura by the throat, telling her, "Nice try." But before he can do anything, Logan jumps back in, stabbing into Creed's back, telling him, "You were always a worthless Mongol." Gwen points her guns at the two Wolverines, and before she can take a shot, Eddie grabs her from behind. She ducks out of the grab and kicks back at him. "What's your deal? We've been hunting Hulk Venoms, Captain America Venoms, and you're kinda plain Jane, like the friend who gets invited to the party out of pity." Scott jumps onto Gwen's foot shouting, "Don't forget about me!" And then Scott grows, grabbing Gwen, shouting,
"Giant-sized ant venom!"
As Creed gets back up, one of Cletus's tendrils climbs up, and he says, "Landmines are the only thing that they planted in the ground, baby!" As Cletus jumps up, Creed says,
"So this is your ace in the hole. Thing about secret weapons is they're not so deadly once people know about them."
Cletus swipes, cutting off Creed's arm, telling him,
"Just keep believing that! I might even start to believe it!"
Creed starts to get back up, and before he can attack, Logan jumps in from behind, stabbing into his back again. Cletus then shouts,
"Hey, that was supposed to be my kill!"
And Eddie tells him, "Relax, there's plenty more of them." Creed's head is cut off and tossed, and Cletus says,
"You're just a bunch of spoil sports."
Scott then calls down, "Hey, can I put Gwen down now? Like, pass her over to you guys?" As everyone gets ready to leave, Cletus notices that someone is watching them, and later in the church, Cletus keeps Gwen held down, and she says that they all know that they're fighting against something beautiful, right? They only need to stop fighting them. And MJ says if they do, they die, and Gwen tells her, "Well, yeah, that happens, but when the host is consumed, we start to exhibit traces of their personalities." And Eddie shouts, telling her,
"We know you have a lair, so where is it?"
And Gwen winks, stating, "I'm afraid I can't do that. This loyalty goes beyond understanding." Rocket then asks,
"So, if you're hunting symbiotes, why is it you can't control Carnage over here?"
And Cletus says,
"Because it's a ride they wouldn't survive, rodent."
Gwen says they take what has been brought to them, and as for Carnage, they don't understand it yet, but they will. Suddenly, Gwen's head is riddled with knives and shurikens, and Wade Wilson runs in asking, "Hey, you missed me yet?" Andy grabs him, shouting, "We tried to stop him, but he's too strong." And Cletus jumps on Wade, shouting,
"I am so sick of people taking my kills! This one is mine!"
Eddie yells, "Don't do it!" And Wade says, "Don't kill who? I'm confused here." Wade stops, puts his swords away, and Eddie asks,
"Why would you kill one of your own?"
And Wade says, "Well, she was a knockoff of a knockoff anyway, but she isn't gonna help you. Too much of that poison Kool-Aid." Me, on the other hand, I decided to go through the meat grinder so that I could come back all heroic-like and give you the deets that you need. But you may want to tie me up just in case. Moments later, Wade is set down by Carnage, and Wade says, "Getting tied up with Carnage tentacles is effective. Gross, but effective." T'Challa then asks, "How is it that you're able to fight off the poison's control?" And Wade tells him, "I noticed it when Spidey was trying to fight back, so I just kind of banked off my brand of crazy that I'd be able to pull through." Eddie asks, "So you sacrificed yourself to become a spy?" And Wade shouts, "I know! I was surprised too! But since no one knows how long I may stay in control, you all might want to shut up and listen." Everyone thought that Strange was summoned to help people stop the poisons, but the truth is, it is something much, much bigger. Since Strange has been summoning more and more people, all of the unique abilities that the poisons have never seen before, they've been loving. And they realize that getting Strange was their real prize. They are so close to eradicating everyone that if any more killing would lead them to no more food. So where it stands is that everyone here is the last line of defense, which is pretty sad when you think about it. But with that said, I'm here to give you one last bite of the old poison apple and give you all poison HQ. Carnage is tough, but they will beat him. Cletus shouts,
"Do you want to be the first in line to die?"
And Wade sighs, "Yeah, sure." Later at the poison hideout, Steve and Peter walk out and Wade shouts, "Relax!" He walks up, dragging Carnage behind him, telling him, "I've returned from the heart of the Venom Central, and while they put up one hell of a fight, I showed them who's boss. I even brought back their new friend for us to dissect." Later, inside the building, Cletus is blasted with sonic emitters, and Steve says, "I know the restraints will torment you, yet you struggle." Doom says, "We will find a way to counter their vulnerability for those like him. Perhaps even discover a way to add him to our arsenal." And Cletus tells him,
"You are biting off more than you could chew and choke on."
But then he gets hit again with the emitters. The sound rings through the lab, and Wade says, "It's loud, huh? That's good. It covers the sound of me gutting someone." He quickly takes out his sword and he stabs it into Steve's chest. And then he tells Cletus, "Nice job setting off those restraints. Give me some cover." As Cletus is freed, Wade tells him, "Come on and get up. We still have a job to do." Cletus tells him, Yeah. Cause a distraction so that everyone can make a move."
"Well, strap in. It's gonna be a bloody ride."
Elsewhere in the facility, alarms start to go off and Rocket says, "There's our signal." Scott tells him, "I got this," and the ants start to crawl out, eating the lesser poisons. Eddie comes out of the floorboards and says that he's seen some nasty things on his time.
"But ants?"
Once everyone gets inside, everyone goes over the plans, and Eddie asks Rocket if he's got this. Rocket says this place is a whole spaceship. Ships have engines and reactors and fuel, which makes them a very fun recipe. While Rocket gets to work working on the terminal, everyone gets ready to move out when Logan is shot through the chest with arrows. He tells everyone, "We got some company." And MJ tells him, "Don't worry, old man, I'll hold them off." Over in Stephen Strange's cell, Scarlet Witch says that the Doctor's defenses are starting to fall. Only a few more minutes now and they can consume him and make even more powerful weapons. Eddie, T'Challa, and Laura all jump out, while Eddie tells them that they can't even handle the weapons that they've got now. Just as the mages start to cast their spells, everyone targets the throats, crushing, slashing, and stabbing through them. Andy jumps in, bashing Scarlet Witch with a wrench, and tells Steven that she really hopes he has another trick up his sleeve. She breaks through his restraints, and he says that he's been struggling to fight back for so long. And Andy tells him that he needs to help them get out of here. Stephen weakly says, I'll do what I can. And he casts a protective spell around Scarlet Witch and the others, holding them in place. Scarlet Witch shouts, you cannot stop us. We've overgrown this world and its reality, and it's all thanks to you, Strange. And Strange tells everyone she's right. And Eddie says, we're gonna see about that. We're gonna end this war that we were brought into. A voice tells Eddie, did you really think about leaving without saying goodbye? And Eddie looks back to see Peter Parker still consumed by the poison. Eddie tells everyone, stick to the plan. I'll be right behind you. Or maybe not. If I die beating the snot out of this guy, it'll be worth it. Back in the control room, more poisons arrive and Rocket shouts that he's almost there. He's got a little something for them in the meantime, though. And he presses a switch and an explosion goes off, shaking the entire ship. As Rocket laughs, Scott looks back to see his daughter, Cassie. Rocket tells him, wait! You know better than this! As Scott screams out in pain as he's devoured. And Rocket goes back to work stating, I can't take a chance saving your sorry hide. Scott yells out, it hurts! I'm sorry, I thought it was Cassie, please help me! But just before the poison can take full control, Laura leaps in, cutting off his head. While everyone runs in, Steven asks Rocket if it's ready yet, and Rocket says, yeah, I rewired the entire place with one big bomb. An injured Eddie jumps in, telling him, good, it's time that we set it off and get ourselves home. Steven says that he can't yet, he's not strong enough. And Eddie tells him, this is the home stretch, you're not dying here. Logan pops his claw, stating whatever they're doing, they're about to lose their chance. And Rocket sets the timer for 10 seconds. Steven begins to channel all of his strength into his spell, and then Wade tells Cletus, you know no one's gonna save us, right? So let me just say, you are disgusting in a cousin marrying a serial killer kind of way. And Cletus says, screw you! And Wade finishes telling him, but there's no one I'd rather die with, Carnage. The bomb goes off while Steven continues to cast. Rocket says, something's I even, and then he teleports away and finishes in the bar, stating, impress myself, whoa. Eddie is thrown back into his world and says, we are home. After swinging back to his apartment, he changes so he can go out and get something to eat. Then a neighbor stops him. The man asks where he's been. The super's been looking for him. He's behind in his rent. And Eddie tells him, you know, visiting an alien planet, forming rebellions, and saving the universe. And there's another full story right here at the Comicstorian Full Story channel. This is a channel where we just re-upload some of our underperforming ones from the other channel to appease the algorithm and see if we have a channel that only does full stories, how that would affect things. I hope you guys enjoyed it, but don't forget you can get up-to-date brand new videos by joining the main channel, Comicstorian. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.